Okay, so there are 340 eggs in a batch. There are 340,000 eggs in a shipment. So which of these is true? Okay, so now we are just comparing these two numbers, basically. In these, there are 1/100th amount of eggs in a shipment than a batch. There are 100 times more eggs in a shipment than a batch. There are 1,000 times more eggs in a batch than a shipment. There are 1,000 times more eggs in a shipment than a batch. Alright, so we have to compare 340 to 340,000. Now, how I like to compare these numbers is I put them on top of each other. So we're at 340 and 340,000. Now, what I like to do is the decimal place is here. It's all in a whole number. It's always after the ones column. And really in any number, it's after the ones column, but it's invisible in a whole number. And now, all we are going to do is see how many times we have to hop with the decimal place to get over here. So we go 1, 2, 3. So we have to make 3 hops. That means that we have to multiply this number, okay? Since we're going to the right, we are multiplying, and we are multiplying by, we always put a 1, and then the amount of hops that we made, that's how many zeros it's going to be. So then it becomes, so it's 340 times 1,000 equals 340,000, right? That would make sense. If there's 340, and then you're looking at 340,000, so there would be 1,000 for each of them, right? 1,000 for each of the 340. So we know that there are 340 eggs in a batch. There are 340,000 eggs in a shipment. That means that there are 1,000 times more eggs in a shipment than a batch, right? Or we could also say there are 1/1,000th, okay? Either 1/1,000th eggs in a batch than there are in a shipment. So we can go through, and since we know it's 1,000, we can cross these ones out that talk about 100, right? And so now we're just looking at there are 1,000 times more eggs in a batch than a shipment, or there are 1,000 times more eggs in a shipment than a batch. So which one has more? We said that the shipment has more. So there are 1,000 times more eggs in a batch than a shipment? No, 340 is not 1,000 times greater than 340,000. So that cannot be true. So the answer has to be there are 1,000 times more eggs in a shipment than a batch. So really what we're trying to figure out is how many times you have to move the decimal place. And that's the amount of zeros you put after the 1, right? When you're figuring out how many times greater something is, right? Or if we were going the other way, if we were going from 340,000 to 340, it would be 1, 2, 3 decimal places to the left, and then it would be 1/1,000th. You just, if you're moving to the left, it becomes 1, and then you just put the 1 and the subsequent zeros in the denominator of the fraction, and it becomes 1/1,000th. So 340 is 1/1,000th of 340,000. Okay? So, hopefully this cleared it up. Basically, every time you move the decimal place, it is moving it a power of 10. So if you move it once, the value becomes 10 times greater, right? So if I'm in the ones place, if there's a, okay, let's just start 22,222. If I am from here, this 2 is worth 2. This 2 is worth 20. So it's 2 times 10. This 2 is worth 20. This 2 is worth 100. So it would be 20 times 10. Every time I hop, each 2 becomes worth 10 times greater. And if I hop from this one, okay, so if I hop from here, 1, 2, okay, well, that would be, we're becoming, that would be to the left, so we would be dividing by 100, right? So anytime you are moving the decimal to the left, it's dividing. Anytime you're moving to the right, it's multiplying, and it's always by the power of 10. Each time you hop, that's the amount of zeros you add to the 1. So hopefully that cleared some things up, some good tricks.